Hola chicos, for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Senora Mangello. For those of you who have Senora Grzelski this year, you're in great hands, and I will get to see you guys in 8th grade. I can't wait to actually work with you guys in person. It'll be great to meet you. So we're going to go over some really key memory tricks for helping you guys master these Spanish-speaking countries. So as you guys watch, I'm going to want you to pause this video and make sure you take some notes. We will attach a blank map. You guys can either print that and take the notes by hand if you have access to that, and that's better for you. If not, you can feel free to use the Kami program. Just open with Kami like we've done before in class. So as you guys have probably heard before, there are really useful memory tricks called silly sentences. And when you make a silly sentence, the best thing to do is to create something personal because it's more likely to be remembered. So a couple students several years ago now, I think it's been about 10 years that I've been using this, came up with this sentence because it applies to all of us. Mr. So you guys are going to write this down, either like type it in a text box on Kami or print this out and handwrite it down. Mr. stands for Mexico. Gibbons, right? We all know him. Stands for Guatemala. Elves. All right, elves stand for El Salvador. I'll make this all make sense in a minute. Bear with me. Have, which stands for Honduras. No, which stands for Nicaragua. Christmas, which stands for Costa Rica, right? And Christmas is a very important holiday to most people in Central or South America, Spanish speaking, because it's a very Catholic area. Mr. Evans himself have no Christmas presents. P stands for presents. Presents is Panama. Tilde sobre la A. Like, I want you guys to put like in quotes right now. So like CD players. Now you guys might be a little too young, but some of you might remember what an actual CD is. C stands for Cuba. D stands for Dominican Republic. And players stands for Puerto Rico. All right, so what you guys are going to do, again, bear with me. I will make this all make sense in a second. It's also good note-taking practice. So the first letter corresponds, right? So we've got Mr. for Mexico, Gibbons for Guatemala, Elves for El Salvador, Have for Honduras, No for Nicaragua, Christmas for Costa Rica, Presents for Panama, the like, I'll explain in a second, C for Cuba, D for the Dominican Republic, also known as La República Dominicana, and P for players or Puerto Rico. So how this works is you go through in order here. Mr. for Mexico, Gibbons for Guatemala, Elves because it's the teeny tiny one for El Salvador. It's the only country that has a teeny tiny word in front of it, so that's another trick. Have for Honduras, No for Nicaragua, Christmas for Costa Rica, Presents for Panama. The boat trip, the like, I want you to think of the like, that's why we put in parentheses because it's not actually a letter, is the boat trip up to the islands. And here we have C for Cuba, D right here for the Dominican Republic. Sorry, I'm writing over things here. It's a lot harder on an iPad than it would be on a whiteboard. And this little dot right here is the P for Puerto Rico. All right, so pause the video now. Make sure you have all these memory tricks down. You have this sentence out. All right, if we were in class, you guys would be chanting with me. Mr. Gibbons, elves have no Christmas presents like CD players. Mr. Gibbons, elves have no Christmas presents like CD players. Mr. Gibbons, elves have no Christmas presents like CD players. That is so much more fun in a classroom with all of you guys chanting it back to me. But I promise these sentences work. All right, I teach this every year in 6th grade. And last year, sophomores were reviewing their countries and capitals with La Señorita Noonan over at the high school. And they all started blurting out, Mr. Gibbons elves. And the kids who remembered the sentences were the kids who got 100 on, usually with me in 8th grade, and then again a couple years later in the high school. So these are super duper valuable. All right, chicos, parte dos. So if you guys are a visual learner at all, you're really going to like this trick. And again, these memory tricks that we're teaching you them now to help you with the Spanish-speaking countries. But these can apply to anything that you have to learn. These are great tricks for all of your classes. They'll really up your game as a student. All right, so if I look right here at this country, for those of you who remember, this is Gibbons for Guatemala. All right, use your imaginación un poquitito and tell me what letter that is. Right? So it's backwards. It's not ideal, but that's clearly a backwards G. All right, I'm a perfectionist and I still see a backwards G there. All right, so that's one, is to see that letter. All right, let's change up the colors here so it's easier to see. Now, this right here, out of all of the countries in this, area here, if we go like this and we stretch this all the way out, okay, you guys should be drawing on your map again, either pausing me or draw as I draw. Ideally, probably watch and then draw, but I know some of you impatient folk will want to draw as you watch on a different device, and that's fine too. So H here, this is the most horizontal of all of the countries. The other thing you can think of is that you are hanging out in your hamaca, for hammock, in Honduras. So this is horizontal Honduras, because people really mix up Honduras and Nicaragua. So if I look over here, again, this one I have to use my imagination again. But if I outline that and I outline this, and then I just draw a line right here, and then I use my imagination, that kind of looks like an N for Nicaragua. All right, let's see, what other colors do we have? We're going back to azul. Now, this is not probably my best, but if I outline just the coast here, notice it also has two very long coasts. That is C for Costa. Oops, that's supposed to be an R. Costa Rica. All right, Panama, you really just kind of have to know by the Canal de Panama, right? Hopefully you guys know that one. In Mexico, same thing. Right, El Salvador, I don't have a great trick for. You can kind of make it look like a little E here, but again, not one of my best. But then this right here, this one, and on the game that you practice, you won't have Haiti and Belize. All right, Haiti is French-speaking. Belize, I believe, is English, French, and Spanish. I'm not sure what their official language is. I spoke Spanish when I was there, but I don't think it's not their official language. This kind of looks like a D. And then over here, this you can skip to this, right? Because being Mr. Gibbons elves have no Christmas presents like CD players, being all the way at the end takes you a while to get there. So this one, you can think of it as oh so lonely. Not sure if there's an E in that or not. For Puerto Rico. I am oh so lonely. It looks like a little O out here floating in space. It's also the only thing that's not even a Spanish-speaking country, right? As you guys know, that is a territory of the United States. It's basically like a 51st state for us. So you can skip right to, oh, I'm oh so lonely in Puerto Rico. So these are all the memory tricks that I have for Central America. You guys are now going to go to the homework sheet and you're going to practice your way through those purpose games. Make sure you've paused the videos and you've taken down all your notes, and then you're going to play the purpose games with your notes over and over and over again until you realize you're not using your notes anymore. So when you get to the purpose games and it says Gibbons, I don't want you to get a wrong answer. You're going to use your notes and you're going to do the sentences. Mr. Gibbons, Gibbons for Guatemala. And then when you get to Costa Rica, you're going to touch the map and you're going to say, Mr. Gibbons, elves have no Christmas. See Christmas for Costa Rica. And I promise you that if you play the games using your notes a few times with the sentences, you will naturally not need them anymore, and you will learn the content in 10 times faster than if you don't use these tricks. Buena suerte!